We're back. You're here with Ray, Sandra, and Danielle, and one of the nicest guys in Tucson community is Rigo RC, the founder and owner of Rigo Pest Prevention.
So I was talking to a client recently where they're buying a home, and so they had a termite inspection done, and while they had the inspection done, the guy that was out there was letting them know about some other things that are currently active on the property. And in the discussion, part of the concern with weeds and things like pack rats and just general pests on the property and possibly even inside a home, the question is, for kids and for pets, especially if it's that very first treatment where you're buying a brand new home and you want to make sure that it is completely treated, how does she know what is okay for her kids to be around, okay for a pet to be around?
Right.
How do you explain that
great
inside
question.
process?
We get that
as well?
quite a bit, So right out of the gate, the good news is most of what we do is outside, and so that is important. That's about prevention, keeping the bugs from getting in and so forth. So product choice is a big deal. We mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
Right? So the lowest grade toxicity level materials available, how they're applied. So typically with application, you want to be strategic, what we call targeted areas. Site specific is another phrase. And so you want to hit those areas. You're not flooding the yard, right? The days of getting the big hose, turning on the motor and just power spraying and soaking the yard, those days are over. Okay. It's about, being strategic, minimizing the application. We always tell folks, wait till it's dry to the eye. Once it's dry, that product is actually binding with the concrete and the grasses and rocks and so forth. Most of what you see in an application is what we call inert material. It's just water, carrying agents, like baby powder, for example, or talc powder. In a granule, it might be walnut shell, for example, or clay. That's a real popular one. These are just inert ingredients. It's the toxin is actually finite relative to all that stuff that's being laid down.
Okay.
All of that stuff is not toxic. Okay. So again, you want to be strategic. You want to minimize applications. You want to dry to the eye. Certainly when you come inside, here's the deal. Stop the can. That's a phrase I use. I coined it. Stop the can. What does that mean? That means that big silver thing about a gallon tall here. Right? You see my hands? I'm holding it about. I have to tell everyone in Radio Land about, 1.5 feet high. That big silver tank.
Yeah.
Don't bring that inside. Don't do it. Don't do it. Crack and crevice treatments with injection tools that have like little syringes and needles so that you inject cracks. Now, show me a 2-year-old that can crawl into a crack. Actually, don't show me a 2-year-old because they probably can. But the point is the materials are injected out of the way, very strategically into cracks and crevices and hollow spaces.
Gotcha.
We also like to use insect monitoring traps, just good old-fashioned glue boards that are strategically hidden. They're not out in the open. And those capture insects, rogue insects that might get in. So to your friend or anyone else, it's really about being responsible and intelligent about your applications. Product choice, strategic, minimalistic, and very well thought out applications. All those things play a role, and so people can rest assured it can be done very, very safely.
And so when you're talking about the strategic application and it not being in the main part of the yard, if a child likes to go dig in the yard and they're digging in the middle of the yard, they're not in any way exposed to
pretty much
the pest control because that's all been on specific areas.
And this is where dialogue comes in. Like, so for example, people have tortoises. That's a real popular one. And you know what? Then you just stay away from that area. Hey, my little boy likes to play Crocodile Dundee over there in that pile of rocks. Okay, well then we're going to stay away from those rocks.
Right.
There's no rule that says you have to do X. Like I'm a robotic pest control man, apply here, soak soil, That's not intelligent pest control, right? It all begins with a dialogue and understanding, being strategic, and there's a time and a place for everything. And so good pest control relationships, people talk, we make a plan, and we protect the family.
And I'll say at my house, because I do have a garden, whenever they come out, we talk about it, and I always talk to the technician and let them know these plants are all vegetables. I don't want anything sprayed just in case.
Exactly.
And so we talk about the strategic areas that they will spray so that the garden is left alone.
You nailed it. I'll be honest. I'll walk into a yard. I don't know what's edible and not sometimes. Some things are obvious, but that dialogue that you're having, applauding to you, great job. Great lesson for everybody, both homeowner and pest control technician. That's exactly what should take place.
We talked a little about monsoon rains, and rain brings the termites.
Oh, they sure do.
So they may think about free inspections.
Yeah, so right now you're driving down the road, you run through this cloud, what I call like a funnel cloud of these insects just pelting your windshield. Question of the day, is it an ant or is it a termite? Well, there is a way to tell. I won't use my hands. Well, I will use my hands. Forget it, I will. I'm Italian, I'm going to do it.
There's a video, they can watch it later.
So if you pick up those termites with the wings, or that ant, that swarming insect, and you hold it up by the wings, if the body is straight, all the way straight from top to bottom like a cigar, there's the video. That's a termite. If it is pinched in the middle, the waist, like that,
like
would
an
be an ant, like an 8, like a figure 8, right? There's your ant. And so now everyone's an expert. And but not just swarming ants and termites, man. We got the mosquitoes, we have midgets, thrips, we have gnats, no-see-ums. By the way, that's a technical insect, a no-see-um. People are getting bit left and right now. I always get the call, I think I have fleas. No, you don't. You don't have fleas. We have biting, flying insects.
So do the no-see-ums come into the house, or are they staying outside?
So they're primarily outside, but they can get in, yes, and they can be very problematic depending on conditions, this type of structure, levels of moisture, humidity, and things of that nature. But for the most part, it is an outdoor insect.
Okay.
You know, we were outside the other day, and my daughter went running up to something, and she says, "Look, a gem!" And she goes to pick it up, and it's not a gem. It is a shiny giant beetle. Those things are flying around everywhere.
Oh,
she came back. That is not a gem.
Yeah.
I do not want that.
Japanese beetles are out. June bugs. Oh yeah, no, they're gorgeous. Those are pretty good looking insects.
Scorpions.
Yeah, they're going to be out later after the rain. So crickets and scorpions are going to be later.
Okay.
I mean, the scorpions are around now. Don't get me wrong, but once the rains are done, you will hear crickets. They will annoy you. You'll be upset. The scorpions love that. They'll come out heavy. So everything seems to have its little cycle and season, and then of course the spiders will pick up. And yes, great industry to be in.
We actually had a fairly impressively sized toad in the yard the other day. Yeah, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one.
She wouldn't let me step on it.
Yeah.
No, I do not.
Yeah.
How we get a hold of you, Rigo?
Hey, once again, 520-744-6177. Or you can look us up at rigopest.com and got some good information.
And they have a Facebook page, right?
We do, Danielle. It's hanging on.
We'd like to thank Rigo RC, who is the owner and CEO of Rigo Pest Prevention, for taking the time and being on the show and being a great sponsor of ours.
Always love it.
But we'll talk to you on the other side. Got one more segment we're going to have. I mean, to talk a little bit about solar. So see you on the other
Segment.
break.